What if everything you've been told about retirement is keeping you broke? Most people think they need millions to retire comfortably. They stress over 401k balances, compare themselves to friends, and feel like they're already too far behind. But here's what nobody's telling you. The math you've been using, it's broken. And in 2026, there's a single number that changes everything. Not the 4% rule your parents followed. Not the safe withdrawal rate the internet keeps repeating. Something different. Something that actually works when you run the real numbers. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine you're 55. You've saved maybe $400,000. You're proud of that. You should be. But then you open one of those retirement calculators online, and it tells you you'll run out of money by 73. You'll be eating cat food. You panic. You think you need to work another decade. You start cutting back on everything. Your life shrinks. But here's the thing, that calculator is using outdated assumptions. Assumptions that don't match how money actually works in your life. And that's where the 7% rule comes in. Now, before I explain what that means, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how financial advice always feels like it's written for someone else? Someone richer. Someone who started earlier. Someone who doesn't have your exact life. Right? It's like they're describing a different planet. Well, that's because most advice is built on models created in the 1990s. Models that assumed you'd retire at 65, live to 85, and spend the same amount every single year. But that's not how real life works. You don't spend the same at 66 as you do at 86. You don't. Your spending follows a curve. And once you understand that curve, everything changes. So let's talk about what most people get wrong first, because this is important. The standard advice says withdraw 4% of your savings each year and you'll be fine. That's a famous rule, the one everyone quotes. If you have $500,000, you take out $20,000 a year. Adjust for inflation. Done. Sounds simple. Feels safe. But here's the problem. It's built for the worst-case scenario. It's designed to survive every market crash, every recession, every disaster all at once. Which means it's also designed to leave most people with way more money than they need at the end. You die rich. Your kids inherit a fortune. But you lived smaller than you had to. You stressed for no reason. You didn't take that trip. You didn't help your daughter with her house. You saved it all for nothing. And that's a trap. See, the 4% rule isn't wrong. It's just overly cautious. It assumes you'll live to 95. That you'll face a market crash in year one of retirement. That you'll never adjust. It treats your retirement like a math problem, not a life. And here's where it gets interesting. When researchers went back and looked at real retirees, not hypothetical models, they found something fascinating. Most people don't spend the same amount every year. They spend more in their 60s. Travel, hobbies, energy. Then spending drops in their 70s. Health costs rise a bit, but lifestyle costs fall. You're not flying to Europe anymore. You're not renovating the kitchen. And by your 80s, spending drops even more. It's not sad. It's just reality. Life slows down. Needs change. And if your withdrawal strategy doesn't match that reality, you're either going to run out too soon or die with too much. So what's the alternative? This is where the 7% rule comes in. And no, it's not about withdrawing 7% every year. That would be reckless. Let me explain. The 7% rule is about something smarter. It's about understanding your real spending timeline and matching your withdrawals to your actual life stages, not some average. Not some worst-case scenario. Your life. Here's how it works. In your first decade of retirement, your 60s, you withdraw a bit more, maybe 5% to 6%. You're healthy. You're active. You want to live. You've earned it. Then in your 70s, you pull back, maybe 4% to 4.5%. You're still comfortable, but you're not spending like you used to. And in your 80s and beyond, even less, maybe 3% to 3.5%. You're not traveling. You're not buying new cars. You're living simply. peacefully. And here's the magic. When you add it all up over 30 years, your average withdrawal rate is around 7% of your initial portfolio spread across your lifetime, adjusted for how you actually live. Not per year, across your life. And that changes everything. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, that sounds like I'm spending more upfront. What if the market crashes? What if I run out? Great question. And here's the answer. The 7% rule works because it's flexible. It's not rigid. You're not locked into a number. You adjust based on what's happening. If the market tanks in year 2, you pull back a bit. You don't take that extra trip. You wait. If the market booms, you breathe easier. You enjoy. You adapt. That's the key. Most people think retirement planning is about finding the perfect number and sticking to it forever, but it's not. It's about understanding the framework and adjusting as you go. And here's the part nobody tells you. The people who adjust, who stay flexible, who don't panic, they almost never run out of money because they are paying attention. They are not blindly following a rule from 1994. Let me give you a real example. Let's say you retire at 62 with $600,000. Under the old 4% rule, you'd take out $24,000 the first year, and you'd feel guilty every time you wanted to spend more. You'd stress. You'd check your balance constantly. You'd wonder if you should go back to work. But under the 7% framework, here's what you'd do instead. In your 60s, you would draw maybe $32,000 a year. That's about 5.3%. You'd travel. You'd live. You'd feel free. Then in your 70s, you'd drop to $26,000 a year. Still comfortable. Still secure. And in your 80s, maybe $20,000. Your needs are simpler now. Your home is paid off. You're not buying much. And when you run the math, assuming average market returns of 7% and average inflation of 3%, you'd still have money left at 90. Maybe even more than you started with. Because the market grew. Because you were smart. Because you lived. That's the 7% rule. It's not about being reckless. It's about being real. It's about matching your money to your life, not someone else's spreadsheet. And here's why this matters more in 2026 than ever before. Because inflation just hit us hard. Because the cost of healthcare keeps rising. Because pensions are mostly gone. Because Social Security alone isn't enough. Because you, right now, need a strategy that actually works in the real world. Not in some 1990s textbook. And this is it. But here's the thing. This only works if you understand 3 core principles. And this is where most people mess up. First, you need to know your baseline expenses. Not your wants. Your needs. What does it actually cost you to live each month? Mortgage, food, insurance, utilities. Write it down. Be honest. Most people guess. Don't guess. No, because that number is your floor. That's what you need to cover no matter what. Everything above that, that's flexible. That's where you adjust. That's where the 7% rule gives you freedom. Second, you need to separate your buckets. This is critical. You don't keep all your money in one place. You have your safe money. That's 1 to 2 years of expenses in cash or bonds. Untouchable. That's your security blanket. Then you have your growth money. That's in stocks, index funds, real estate. That's what grows over time. And here's the magic. When the market is up, you pull from growth. When it's down, you pull from safe money and let growth recover. You never sell low. You never panic. You're strategic. That's how you survive crashes. That's how you thrive long term. And third, you need to accept that you're going to adjust. This isn't set it and forget it. Every year, you check in. How's the market? How's your health? How's your spending? Are you on track? Do you need to pull back? Can you spend a bit more? You stay flexible. You stay aware. And that awareness, that's what keeps you safe. Because the people who fail in retirement aren't the ones who didn't save enough. They are the ones who stopped paying attention. They are the ones who followed a rule blindly and didn't adapt when life changed. Don't be that person. Now, let me show you why this is so powerful. Because it's not just about the math. It's about psychology. It's about how you feel every single day. Most retirees live in fear. They are terrified of running out. So they underspend. They hoard. They stress. They don't enjoy the money they worked 40 years to save. And that's tragic. Because what's the point of saving if you never feel free? The 7% rule flips that. It gives you permission to live in your 60s. It tells you, you're okay. You can take that trip. You can help your kids. You can breathe. And that permission, that's priceless. Because you're not just managing money. You're managing your one life. And you don't get a second chance at 68. You don't get a do-over. You're either living now, or you're not. And the 7% rule lets you live. But here's what you need to watch out for. Because there are traps. Big ones. Trap number 1, ignoring inflation. If you're withdrawing a fixed dollar amount and not adjusting for inflation, you're slowly going broke. Your $30,000 today won't buy the same in 10 years. You have to adjust. Every year. Even small increases. 2, 3%. It matters. Trap number 2, panic selling. The market will crash. It always does. And when it does, you'll feel the urge to pull everything out and hide. Don't. That's how you lose. You ride it out. You pull from your safe bucket. You wait. You let it recover. Because it always recovers. Always. And trap number 3, lifestyle creep. Just because you can spend more in your 60s doesn't mean you should spend recklessly. The 7% rule gives you freedom, not permission to be stupid. You still budget. You still plan. You still think. You're just not living in fear anymore. Big difference. And here's the last thing I want you to understand. This rule isn't just for people with $1 million saved. It's for everyone. If you have $300,000, it works. If you have $800,000, it works. Because it's not about the amount. It's about the strategy. It's about understanding how money flows through your life and matching that flow to reality. And once you see it, once you really get it, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop feeling behind. You stop panicking. Because you have a plan. A real one. One that's built for you. Not some hypothetical person. You. So where does that leave you? Right here. Right now. With a choice. You can keep following the old rules. The ones that leave you stressed and underliving. Or you can try something different. Something that actually matches how life works. You can take control. You can plan smarter. You can live better. And you can stop feeling like retirement is this impossible mountain you'll never climb. Because it's not. It's a path. And the 7% rule is a map. You just have to trust it. And trust yourself. Because you've made it this far. You've saved. You've planned. You've worked. And now it's time to actually live. If this helped you see retirement differently, if it made you feel a little less alone in this, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Not for me. For you. Because it tells YouTube, hey, I want more of this. I want real advice. I want stuff that actually helps. And drop a comment. Tell me where you're at. What you're worried about. What clicked for you. Because I read every single one. And I make videos based on what you need. Not what I think you need. What you tell me you need. And if you're not subscribed yet, come on. You've made it this far. You clearly care about your future. Let's keep building it together. One video at a time. One smart decision at a time. Because that's how you win. Not with one big move. With 100 small ones. And you just made one. Right here. Right now. Keep going.